Lee, that was prime time Zoom webinar
We
banter that you
missed
missed
it.
there.
I'm so
Okay, that
sorry.
you
We
missed.
missed it.
We'll do it again.
I know. I know. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, happy holidays, everybody. We are thrilled to kick off this week's campaign kickoff call, sort of holiday season style, as you can see here, where we're doing something special. Where normally this week, if you're new to campaign kickoff, we host these every Monday, 2 o'clock. We go through the marketing plan of the week. Hey, here's what we're doing. Here's the email. Here's a text. Here's a social media post. But I have called in some favors to bring in some friends. And what we're trying to do here today is each week we're focused in on a new topic to help you level up your skills. And so this week we thought it, Jimmy, in the spirit of the holidays, given the fact that we're all spending all of our money on gifts for other people, that we thought the perfect way to start off today's session was on
Yes.
low cost lead gen. Now, Jimmy Burgess, who's on the call with us today, Jimmy, could you maybe take 1 minute here? We got a lot of people who know who you are on this call, maybe a handful who don't, which is shocking at this stage, but we probably have a few that don't. Could you please just introduce yourself, let people know where you're calling in from, and a little bit about your background, my friend?
Yes, I have said that it is great to be way down the list, but at least the second smartest Jimmy in real estate behind Jimmy Mackin. So from that standpoint, yeah, I've been doing this 31 years now. I mean, literally
Hmm.
well over half my life, which is kind of crazy. And started selling real estate with a family-owned company. I've kind of said that I was an SOB son of broker. Both my parents, when they got divorced, my dad moved about 45 miles away, started a real estate company that he built to a little over 100 agents and sold. And my mom, when she remarried, she and my stepfather started a real estate company that was a family-owned ERA franchise back in the 80s and 90s. And so
Hmm.
literally, like I was like, there's no way I'm getting into real estate. You know what I mean? And so here we are. Like I'm the weather. I don't know when I became the old guy that's been doing this so long, but sold for 25 years. Had some good success there. Sold over $500 million, mostly as a single agent.
Yeah.
And so literally did build teams throughout, and then kind of would move up and down with the market and kind of the ebb and flow of what happened. I'm located in Northwest Florida, and so the little area between Panama City and actually in Destin called 30A. That's where I live. That's
Hmm.
where I serve. I'm the president for our local company with a couple hundred agents here for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Beach Properties of Florida,
Yep.
and also I am the chief coaching officer for Home Service America and BHHS. So I get the opportunity to teach and coach all the agents throughout those two networks.
Which I know is a huge passion of yours, Jimmy, something you and I have
Oh,
in common. Could you maybe just before we get because today's session we're going to do Lee actually before I pass back to Jimmy, Lee, could you just give everybody a quick lay of the land for campaign kickoff? Because we have in the chat, let us know if you're a first timer, because I'm sure we got a couple first timers on today's call. So could you maybe just set the stage for campaign kickoff? That way, when we come back to it, everyone knows what we have prepped for today's session.
Absolutely. Yeah. So stick around after these guys talk through low cost lead generation. Jimmy and I run down the weekly plan, the strategy behind it, tips and tricks to execute the plan for the week. And we just want to get you started off on the right foot. Just because it's a holiday, it's still a great week to hit up people, do your thing, stay consistent, and rock on. So stay tuned after we're done here, and we'll dig into that.
Love that. So, Jimmy, I want to kick off before we get into actual tactics because you got a few tactics, I got a few tactics, but I'm curious. You've been selling real estate for a long time now, and you've seen a lot of different markets. Is this market, is there a parallel in your mind? Is there a period of time that you look at when you say, you know what, this 2025 going into 2026 market,
mhm.
it reminds me a lot of blank. Is that
Mhm.
anything jump out to you for that?
Yeah, and it does. It's interesting you asked this. I mean, literally, I mean, we haven't even talked about this, but I literally was looking back this past week and trying to think about what were the times. Kind of odd that you would ask that. But literally, I was thinking about, I can remember in 2011, 2012. Now, look,
Hmm.
we were coming out of the last, what you could say, really major pullback. We haven't seen that in pullback as far
Yeah.
as the prices, but we've seen it in transactions. And
Hmm.
so when you start looking at the number of transactions we have today versus the amount of people we have population wise, the amount of agents, it's historic. And so
Yep.
from that standpoint, we were at a point where there were a lot of people that had been beaten down, that were wondering, should they stay in the business? We're wondering, okay, this is not the same market that I came into in the last 5 to 6 years previous to that, or 7 or 8
Hmm.
years. And so there were a lot of people that were like, do I even want to still be in this business? And what I
Yeah.
noticed is that the people that leaned in during that time, literally, it was like there was a changing of the guard. And so
Yeah.
what we saw is there was a change of the guard over the next 3 to 5 years, where the people who were the leaders in the previous 5 to 7 years almost passed the baton to that
Mm.
group that was new. They were innovative. They began at that point to begin to utilize video a little bit. They began to utilize some of the social media that was just starting opportunity wise. They began to lead generate that was totally different than what we had seen before. And all of a sudden we began to see those that had never said, we've never done it this way before,
Hmm.
begin to forge the new path. And so I
Yeah.
believe when I'm looking at this, we're at a place where, knock on wood, it appears from all projections and in my opinion as well, that maybe we've seen the lows as far as the number of transactions on an annual basis.
Yep.
And we will see some measured growth. I even saw where Lawrence Yun came out with some of his stuff from NAR. He's expecting 14% improvement in transactions next year, which I think may be a little high. But I mean, to see that there's some optimism out there. And look,
Yeah.
everything in this market is about the perceived value, the perceived optimism, the understanding of kind of where we are and what is that sentiment that we're seeing from consumers. And I think we're turning a corner here. And so those agents that are on here, this is what I love about a Monday before Thanksgiving, man. I'm gonna just tell you. I mean,
Hmm.
what are we looking at here? I mean, we got 170 or 100, however many it is that we've got on here right now. These are the folks that are showing up when
Hmm.
everybody else is like, oh, it's Thanksgiving week. I'll catch back up next week.
Yeah.
This is the group
Yeah.
that I've watched, now for so many years, that leans in when everybody else kind of just pauses. Jimmy, this is a long answer, but I'll tell you this. I had someone, I was at a diner in Minnesota speaking 2 weeks ago, and one of the leaders there said, I asked him what they were really focusing in on. He said, we're focusing in on positive momentum for our agents going into 2026. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, you have to understand there's only one way you can go when you're coasting, and it's down.
Mm.
And it
Hmm.
builds momentum the longer you coast. So the agents that are on here today, they're not coasting. They're leaning in. They're looking for these ideas. And man, I'm gonna just tell y'all, nobody's doing it better than you guys are. I mean,
Yeah.
I've said that publicly so many times. So
Well,
man, I'm
thank you,
excited to
Jimmy.
be with you today. We're gonna give them some stuff. I promise you, we're gonna give them some ideas today that'll help.
We're going to give, and I just got to get, I think the lesson there, Jimmy, is you can brine your turkey and prospect in this week, right? I mean, like you
That's
can do both.
exactly right.
You can do
Hey,
both those things.
let,
You know
let me
what's
say
funny?
this: if you deep fry them, you can do a lot this week because it'll cook quick. You're
That's
gonna be good. So.
So, what's funny about the comparison to 2025 to 2025, 26 to 11 and 12 is I've done a lot of research on this, and the only time in our history where we saw a significant pullback in the number of transactions was exactly as Jimmy just described, from '07, '08, and even '09, where we were doing close to 6 million, a little more than 6 million transactions. And within about 24 months, that number crawled all the way back to 4 million, getting cut basically by a third. Now, when we've made the comparison to the global financial housing crash of '08, a lot of people may misunderstand that we're not talking about prices, we're not talking about foreclosures. We are talking about the fact that there is a direct parallel in terms of transaction. In
Correct.
2022, we sort of peaked, 21, 22, we sort of peaked for a 12-month period doing a little over 6.5 million transactions. And then the trough kind of happened in 2024. We've been building our way out of it. So we've seen that pullback. And what is interesting, and it's hard, it's like the old Mark Twain quote, right? It's history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. What's interesting is we are now seeing like that 2011 2012 era was the beginning of 10 fantastic years in real estate.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at the data behind it. I did analysis on this, Jimmy. I looked at I call something called the competition index, which is the number of agents versus the number of transactions. How competitive it was. In 2013, we bottomed out. It was the lowest competition we've ever had in the last like 25 years in real estate. We're kind of starting to see a little bit of that repeat in 2026. So Jimmy, we talk about low cost lead gen. The people on today's call are excited about this topic because they want to be efficient with their time. They want to be thoughtful with their money. I read a quote So there's a place in where I get my salads and sandwiches from in Boston, and I took a picture of this because I thought it'd be a perfect setup for it. It's a place called Flower. If you guys are familiar with the Boston area, it's like a kind of staple here in the area. And I thought we could do something that was probably one of my favorite strategies you've coached, and I'll set you up for this. And I'm gonna read this quote. This was actually, you guys, I'm not lying. This was actually was like I took a picture of it. It was on like the little chalkboard at the restaurant today. It said gratitude. I'm gonna read the quote. Quote of the week. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but it is the parent of all others. So you have a technique and a tactic that is a gratitude tactic that you do every Thanksgiving. And I think this is the perfect strategy if you want to break it down for us, what agents could be doing this week as a way to sort of make sure they're staying connected to the people that matter most to them.
Yeah, and Jimmy, what I love about this strategy is that it needs to come from the heart. I mean, you need to
Hmm.
truly think about this. And this is my favorite holiday. I mean, there's no commercialization. I mean, it's truly about showing your gratitude and saying thank you and being
Yeah.
surrounded by, family and friends and people that you truly care about. And so one of the things that I've done over the years, and this is going back to the time when I was in sales, and what I did is I thought about this a few days before Thanksgiving. I started thinking about who is it that I'm most grateful for? Who is it that impacted my business the most? Who is it that encouraged me the most? Who is it that sent me the most referrals? Who are those people that truly impacted my business and my life at the highest level? And once I did that, I kind of made a list of those folks. Now, I just kind of referenced this a little bit earlier. I take care of the turkey down here. And listen, I'm if you can't tell by this accent, I'm not from Boston. And so literally like I fry the turkey every year. We fry turkey, and man, I'm gonna just tell you something. If you hadn't had fried turkey, it's about as good as you can get a turkey to be. But what I do is it takes a little while. So when you put the fryer in the actual peanut oil and you start frying that, it takes you around an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 5 minutes, depending on the size of the turkey, for it to
Hmm.
actually cook. Now, so I'm sitting out there. You have to sit with it. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting outside with this turkey as it's cooking. And what I did about 7 years ago is I was sitting there thinking about the people that I was thankful for. And I just took my phone out and I literally held the phone up and I simply did this. And I don't have my phone here, but I just took a selfie video and all I did was this. I just said, hey, it's Thanksgiving morning. And I was just sitting here thinking about the people that I'm the most thankful for that made the biggest impact in my life and my business this year. And I immediately thought of you guys. Listen, I'm out here cooking the turkey. I like to turn it around and show them, the little boiling turkey. And then I say, and I was just thinking about this. And I wanted to send you a text and just say how much I appreciate you, how much I
Hmm.
appreciate, the trust you put in me to help you with the purchase of your home, or the trust you put in me to send your family and friends my way this year. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew how much that meant to me. And I am
Yeah.
hoping that you are surrounded by family and friends this Thanksgiving, that this will be your best Thanksgiving ever. Again, just know I'm here if I can ever do anything for you or your family. And I'll talk to you soon. And I sit and I began to text those. I texted about 10 of those during that hour. And Jimmy, you got to understand, the first time I did this, it was unbelievable. The texts start coming back in. I had a client that I had sold a beach house to here. They sent me a picture. They're holding their brand new grandbaby, and they said,
Hmm.
"Hey, just want to tell you, we are sitting in the house that you helped us buy,
Yeah.
surrounded by our family, and cannot tell you how much that meant for you to say this. And just want you to know that you weren't just a realtor. You become a friend for life. And look, that may sound like something that it gives you the good feelings. Those folks have gone on to send me 7 referrals since
Hmm.
that time about 7 years ago.
Hmm.
Then I had another one. I had somebody, and this guy was a little bit of a character. I'd sold him a house. He sends it back. You could tell they were probably they were early dipping into the eggnog, I guess you could say, into the season. And so he sends this to me. And he goes, and he does the same thing to me. He goes, Jimmy, I can't believe you just sent me this. I'm literally sitting at the Thanksgiving table, and check this out. And he pans it around, and the whole family has apparently been going ahead and dipping into the sauce, so to speak. And so literally he says, they were shocked that my realtor would think of me on Thanksgiving morning and send me this. He said, I
Hmm.
just want you to know, I'm going to give you a fair warning, but my uncle is sitting right here, and I'm going to text you and him right now because he needs to buy a place down here too. It was
Mhm.
literally, that was the kind of things that we did. I had agents that I began to teach this to, and I've had agents that have told me, hey, I sent 7, I got 2 listings. I sent
Mhm.
10, I got 4 listings. This is something where when you're truly showing appreciation, the law of reciprocity basically is states that anyone that we show appreciation to, they want
Mhm.
to in turn show appreciation back to us. They want to find a way to give back and to that gratitude that you sent their way. The
Yeah,
best way they know how to do that for realtors is through referrals or repeat business. So
that's exactly right.
this is something you can be preparing right now. Last little dig on this: if you don't want to do it that morning, get in your kitchen this evening and
Mhm.
literally make some of these and just say, hey, it's Christmas morning. I wanted to send you this because I was thinking about you. You
Mhm.
can prep these things where you got them ready to text out on Thanksgiving morning as well. But I will
Yep.
tell you, there's nothing you can do more this Thanksgiving Day that is the right thing to do and that will absolutely lead to more business and that will cost you $0 to do than to do that on Thanksgiving morning.
Yeah, the reason I love this script, and I hope everyone got that, and you mentioned the law of reciprocity. It's a book by a guy named Robert Cialdini who wrote a book called Influence, and you know you're
Yeah.
referencing that concept of people are inherently, it's part of our DNA, it's part of our just nature. When you do something for someone, they feel the need to reciprocate that thing. And I think in this case, what I think you could be doing, and yeah, Lindsay, spot on, givers gain. What you could be doing in this particular moment is set yourself up for success so you're not having to search through your CRM as the turkey's frying. So what could you be doing right now? As Jimmy said, you can either prep the video right now or just make a list of 10 to 15 VIPs that you want to send a video to so that you can save it in your Apple Notes or just text yourself as an example, but you just have it prepped because what I think the big takeaway here on this is you don't want to be digging into your CRM as you're frying the turkey. You want to be able to just go through
Right.
your list of people in advance and just go. So my only bit of advice, in addition to what Jimmy just said there, was just put yourself in a position where you're now, okay, just get prepped this week. And actually in the chat right now, let us know, can you think of 10 to 15 people in your network, yes or no in the chat right now, can you think of 10 to 15 people in your network who would appreciate getting a video like this? Like, just look at this. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And by the way, how many of you have been doing this, or is this gonna be the first time you're doing it? Like, are you someone who shoots these holiday videos, or is this gonna be a first time? Let us know in the chat. You can just see Jimmy a lot of people saying first,
Love it.
first, 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 first,
Yeah.
first. It goes such a long way. All right, so Jimmy, number one is the gratitude text. Uh, it's funny. I think I have a bad memory when it comes to when the first time I met somebody. I know when the first time we met in person
Mhm.
because we were down in Louisiana when you
Yep.
guys had me working like a dog doing six events back to back to back to back to back. Uh, but
Uh,
it was I felt like a prize fighter having have
yeah.
a towel
I
around my
know.
neck as I was doing
Yeah.
these speeches
I
for
know.
you guys. But the first time I got exposed to you was a couple years back where you introduced this concept that I just immediately gravitated towards, which was this idea of using an unsolicited CMA. And if I remember correctly in the article I read, I think this one strategy helped net somewhere around like 10 to 11 million dollars in listings if
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
if I, my memory
Yeah.
my memory serves. So I think for our second strategy, uh, I want you to unpack this because I think this is one of the things I think a lot about this, Jimmy. Let me just set this up for you. I think a lot about this. I'm like, what are the ways in 26 we can help our community become more productive and more profitable? And what are the tactics? What are the strategies? What's the mindset? What's the approach? And one thing that jumps out to me is like going back to the things that we know worked and making sure that we're still doing them. Because we're always in pursuit, and I'm guilty of this as much as anybody. I'm always in pursuit. What's next? What's new? But there are strategies that just work that we're probably not doing. So why don't you set the stage for the unsolicited CMA and give everyone a sense of kind of how to execute this and maybe some of the backstory as well.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I'm gonna just kind of go through and show some examples, if
Yeah,
that's okay, of this,
fire away.
real quick. So, couple things here. It is I called it the unsolicited video CMA because I did it with BombBomb. I recorded my screen basically just to kind of get you an idea of what I did, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like in just a second with some 3 simple steps. But the results from this strategy, this was the last fourth quarter that I was in sales was the first time I did this. I don't ever like to talk about things that I haven't done. I like to
Hmm.
speak from not theory, but from, things that actually I've got some experience with. And so here's what I did is I decided that every single day for that fourth quarter, and look, I think you can only do things for seasons typically. You can't,
Yeah.
it's hard to do things over and over. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take that basic 90-day period, and every single day that I was in the office or I worked, I was going to do one unsolicited video CMA where I would just give an idea of the valuation to someone without them asking me. So what I did is I made a list of about a little over 100 people and that I'd either sold to in the past, that were in my farming neighborhood I'd talked to, that were past buyers, that were people that had been referred to me, whatever it was, any homeowners I had, and I made that list. Now, look, your list may be 10. I can tell you right now, one's better than none. But I
Yep.
made that list and I decided every single day I would do that. I didn't work every day that year. I worked 72 days in that last fourth quarter. And so with that, I did 72 unsolicited video CMAs. They were averaging between 3 and 7 minutes long. And I'm going to show you some examples of that in just a second. I'd listed over $11 million directly from this strategy before May of the next year when I transitioned to more of a leadership and teaching role. When I broke it down, with those taking an average of a half hour each morning for me to put them together, record them, get them sent out, it was a $3,600 per hour activity. Now you have to understand, everybody says, oh, but your average sales price is so much higher than ours. You have to understand, this was 2017, 18 when I did this.
Hmm.
The average sales price here at that time was around 700,000. But look,
Yeah.
even if you take that and it's the half of that, it's an $1,800 an hour activity. And,
Yeah.
so from that standpoint, here's the other thing is, I'm going to show you specifically how I did this where it has a tail, so to speak, where as I shifted out, I did not do anything additional as far as follow up with these folks because I shifted out of sales after that. 18
Yep.
months later, because this was at the end of 2018, I began to see this because I'm going to show you exactly what to say here. I began to have people reaching out that I'd done this for 18 months before because it stood out to them. And we listed an additional $5.1 million during COVID directly from this strategy where people went back to this. So let me show you exactly what this looks like, okay? Here's a couple of keys to success on this. And one is prep before you start. You want to break down and just like if you were just getting a valuation update for someone, okay? This doesn't have to be an exact number, but what you want to do is you want to pull up 3 or 4 of the most recent sales that are comparable. You want to see what's pending and you want to see what's active. I did this where I didn't have to memorize it. I was just talking to them into the camera as I was recording my screen. You could do this. I used BombBomb where I would be down in the corner and I would share my screen. And I already had the numbers there. I just kind of went through it like I would if I was sitting at the kitchen table with them. The other thing that I did is you could look, I did it with BombBomb. You could do Zoom party of one. I mean, you're fine and just record your screen and send that. I had 3 tabs basically up, okay? First one was Google Earth. I'm going to show you this exactly in the beginning. And the reason why I liked BombBomb is I would start with it at the beginning and it would come in and literally when I would press record and I would start the recording, I had it out with their address punched into Google Earth. I would start and I would hit that and it would zoom in from outer space right on top of their house. I'm going to tell you right now, our open rates were over 85% on the first email with this. Because I don't know about you, but if I had a specific thing that came in, and I'm going to show you the subject line in just a second, and then it zoomed in on the top of my house, I'm clicking on that video, and people did. Then a second tab I already had the comps pulled up for this CMA. Third thing is I had the estimated seller net sheet. And this is what it looked like, literally. I mean, and here's a perfect example, Jimmy. I mean, I'm going back a few years with this one right here.
Yep.
But if you tell me you can't do video, look at this. Shiny
Hmm.
head, costume because it was Halloween, apparently, because I'm wearing orange. I mean, come on, y'all. If you can't do, I mean,
First off,
literally.
first off, don't act like you still don't own that shirt, Jimmy. We all know you own
Hey,
that shirt.
I'm gonna tell you something, Jimmy. I probably do, and that's embarrassing. But if I'm tell you what, I will text you tonight as I go in the closet if I find it. I will put it on. I don't know that it'll still fit, but yes. So that's the whole thing. Listen, no one has accused me of being the fashion, a person who is actually leading some type of, new fashion deal. But what I did is I just want you to see this. This is I started. Here's how I started with this. Okay, simply I just said, hey. and I'm going to use it for Jimmy, for example. Hey, Jimmy, it's been a little while since I caught up with you. Listen, I don't know about you, but I always wonder what's the value of my home. And so what I thought of when I was thinking about you is I just want to go through in the next few minutes, and I'm going to show you exactly the comparable homes that are out there for sale now that have recently sold that are like yours, so you can get an idea and a range of value. So here I'm going to go and I'm going to share my screen now. Next tab that I pulled up, and I would pull up the comps for the CMA. Okay. Now here's the thing about this is you could get as detailed as you want. Look how basic this was. I literally just had the active pending sold in there. I would walk through and say, basically in this situation, hey, there's 5 that are sold, there's 2 that are pending, there's 4 that are for sale, whatever it was. I would walk them through
Yeah.
and say, hey, look, these are the ranges of the value. I always gave them a range of value. Now, what I did on this is the subject line was always the same. It was their address, valuation update. Now, what I did right before I went into the valuation here and I went into the comps is I would say, hey, listen, just in case you're ever curious of what your value was in November of 2025, if you just simply come back into your email and you search for your address or valuation update, it's going to bring you right back here and you can see exactly where you were. Now, let me go through these comparables. I would go through the comparables. I would give them a range of value. And I would say it this way. I would say, hey, listen, obviously, if I haven't been in your house recently, there may be maybe a little deferred maintenance, or maybe you've done some upgrades that I'm not aware of. But listen, let me just say this. If you're curious about what your house is sell for, I can walk through your house in 5 minutes. I can tell you exactly what it will sell for. Then I kept moving. I wasn't asking for the listing, just gave that door a little bit of an opening there. And then the last thing I did is I came in and I flipped to the last one, which was an estimated seller net. Now, look, I did all my disclosures to cover that, hey, this doesn't show a mortgage. This is an estimation, all the things that I need to do. But people want to know what that number might look like. And so I went through and broke down what their closing costs would typically be and went through that. And then that was basically it. Here's the keys to remember on this, okay? Key is the consistency. I did one a day. I would suggest if you're going to do this, decide if you're going to do 2 a week, one a day. If you're going to do it for a month, whatever it is, just have some consistency. Remember to do the valuation update and, the address valuation update. And then also provide a range of value, because that way there's a question that they may want to, if they're curious, on exactly what it sell for. And then at the end, again, I did it at the beginning, but at the end of this, before I wrapped up, I said, hey, just remember, if you're ever curious about what your value was in November of 2025, all you have to do is simply come back in and look in your email and search for your address or valuation update, and you can find this. This was the reason, that one call to action, which I didn't even realize it was happening, Jimmy, was the reason why 18 months later, without any further prompting, any further follow-up calls with this group, I listed another $5 million directly from this. So that is basically, this is the strategy. And so, Jimmy, that is one that I will tell you right now. I've worked with agents from California to Maine. I worked with agents from Florida to Chicago. This works in every single market, because the biggest thing you can do. I mean, listen, y'all did this. This was a core part of the 100 days to 100K. I mean, listen, this was a strategy that is, if you do it daily, you will get results.
Yeah. What's so smart about this strategy, and actually, I got to know in the chat right now, because we got more people who are joining us later in today's call. So don't worry, this call is being recorded. We'll make sure you get the notes, and you'll get the recording as well. We'll be putting that into listing leads. But I got to know in the chat, and it's okay. Listen, this is a no judgment zone, so don't be embarrassed to share this. But when is the last time that you've done a video CMA like Jimmy just broke down? Has it been a week? Has it been a month? Has it been way too long? Has it been, Jason, never?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of reasons. I think it's important to understand why this works. This works because there is a psychological phenomenon that's going to escape me, but when there is a perceived effort involved in the outreach, it increases the perceived value of the outreach. And I remember when I was in Disney World, Jimmy, I was at the Starbucks in Magic Kingdom, and adjacent to the Starbucks in Magic Kingdom, there is a glass shop that sells all glass figurines and glass castles and glass Snow White, globes and all that. And I could not believe the prices on these things, Jimmy. I swear to you, I'd have to start like 3 or 4 more listing leads for me able to afford some of these things. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, these things are outrageously expensive. And then I look over and I see it's a master, I don't know what we call this person, glass person, someone's going to help me in the chat here, whatever they call these roles. He's basically making them in front of everybody. And you could just see the craftsmanship that goes into it. And they go, oh, that makes sense. You know, this he didn't get this from some mass manufacturer. This person is literally slaving in the Starbucks at Magic Kingdom with a 1800-degree fire, wielding these little castles. And yeah, they're selling for $300 a pop. It now makes sense, and I think that's exactly what we see with this video. Is that the fact that is there's effort involved. It's not generic, which we're also accustomed to kind of mass marketing at this point. Not saying it doesn't work, because of course that does, but there's something special about this. There's a little bit of a pattern interrupt with it. And the second reason is the personalization. This is information they can't get online at this level of detail, presented by an expert. You know, I saw the stats from our friends over at BAM. 90%, which is an all-time high, I guess, of consumers are hiring an agent right now. This is the
Right.
reason why good agents and great agents are worth every penny, because they do things like this. So I'm just a huge fan. And by the way, thank you, Scott. Scott helped me out. It's a glass blower, not a glass. What do they call him? A glass man. So it's yeah. My by the way, everyone, just in case anyone's wondering, my skills start and end with marketing and sales, and then there's nothing on the peripheral here, folks.
Yeah.
So yeah. By the way, look at this, Jimmy, in the chat. Holly did it 60 days ago, got the listing. Okay. So let's just
Yeah.
envision a world where now, okay, hey, you're doing at least one of these per day, and watch what happens. And by the way, real quick, there are a bunch of free tools now that you can do to execute this. Lee would drop it in the
Yeah.
chat. You can use Loom. There's now, by the way, you can use, like, if you don't want to analyze your MLS, you can maybe use Perplexity to grab some data and some
Right.
interesting stats locally. So AI can definitely help with this. And frankly, if you really wanted to press the easy button, I'm not saying you should do this, but you could potentially use a tool like HeyGen to basically
Yeah.
create these videos for you, and maybe do 10 a day, maybe experiment with
Yeah.
that. Like, it's a little bit like, once they see behind the curtain, they might get offended, but there are ways in which you can speed this whole process up. Jimmy, let's end with this. One of the things that we talk a lot about, at Listing Leads, is creative ways where agents can really focus on taking one opportunity and turning it into two or three more. And you have this approach that's such an old school approach that I think is probably missing from most people's sort of arsenal strategies, which is this basic idea of not buying leads but buying blank. And I want you to fill
Mhm.
in the blank for me and just give people a sense of kind of what you would advise them to do with their money instead of basically buying cold internet leads.
Yeah, this was actually something that I did an interview with an agent out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Um, and Heidi, what she did with this is, I mean, she's a great agent. And what she did was she actually came in and she decided that she was noticing that she was really good with people. But the problem was that she was buying all these leads because she was been just told to buy leads. And she decided that going into that year, she was going to buy lunch instead of leads. And so she put on as a goal that she would have lunch at least twice a week, ideally 3 times a week, with someone in her sphere of influence, friends, people she wanted to get to know, people that were had kids the age of her kids, past clients. She just made this list of these folks she wanted just to have lunch with. She went in with no alter. I will tell you this. It will come up and they will ask you about your business. But what she
Hmm.
did is tell me about the family. Tell me what's going on here. How's everything going with whatever they had in common? And what happened is that, and the other thing is when we're talking about, everything we've talked about at this point has been $0. Lunch, she said, about half of the time, because they thought that she was going to come in and be asking them for business, that when they realized she was just trying to get to know them better, they ended up paying for lunch. And so what she did in this is that, and then it always came back, and she always had the same thing that she would say. They would say, "How's your business?" She said, "It's going great. I've had my best year ever. But as you know, I'm always looking for people just like you. So just keep me in mind in case you run across someone that you hear is buying or selling. And there's nothing that you can do more for me than just keeping me in mind." And then
Hmm.
she said she would shift. That's all she ever did. Her business went up 80% the next year by
Hmm.
focusing in on the relationships and deepening those relationships. Let me just say this. We're in an industry that tells you the best thing you can do is go wide, get more leads, grow your database. And look, it's important. Don't get me wrong. The answer is more a lot of times. But I will tell you, most people already have the relationships they need. They just need to go deeper with the ones they have instead of worrying about going wide with everything. So
Hmm.
focus in on this. Think about this. If you could set up and you could have just one a week. You would have 50 specific lunches, and I'm just going to use 50 weeks in the next year that you would have.
Sure. Hmm.
I will promise you. I mean, listen, there are very few things I gamble on. I would gamble on this. If you will have 50 lunch experiences with people that you're deepening relationships with,
Yeah.
you can absolutely not get referrals, not get
Hmm.
repeat business. It will
Hmm.
absolutely be that. Our buddy Sharon says it this way. He says, "Hey, listen, what is it that you can do?" And I think this is something that that Alex Ramosi started with. But what is it that I can do where it would be unreasonable that I would
Hmm.
not have success? If
Hmm.
you could have one, especially if you could have two actual lunches with people where you're just building relationship over the next year, every single week, it would be unreasonable to think that your business doesn't exponentially grow in 2026.
Let me ask you a follow on to this because I hear you. I love it. I think the challenge that some people who are listening right now might have is some of us may feel uh, I wouldn't call them introverts because I think it's
Right.
very I think we have some agents who can turn it on even if they are introverted. So I think listen, agents this is true for most people. Most people I think like they can flip the switch and they can be more extroverted, they can be more outgoing. Would you recommend, in theory, partnering with title rep, mortgage rep, so it doesn't feel like a date? Meaning, like it's you got to
Yeah.
listen. This is probably just me talking right now. Some of you like, what are you talking about? I'd love to go lunch with somebody, but like I like the idea of like not having to be in a position where I'm having to carry the entire conversation the entire time. And so, just like Lee right now is my date for this one-on-one lunch right now. If I'm pointing at Lee right now, he's just there. He's just there as the foil for this part of the session. But would you say like to make it a little easier to do a can like, hey, I'm going to lunch with Jimmy. We'd love for you to come. It's been a while. I'm not sure if you guys have met. Like, could that actually help people who are listening right now who need a little bit of like I don't know. I don't know if I'm asking the right question here, Jimmy, but you get
Yeah.
my point. Like, just need a little
No.
more help getting this thing facilitated.
Hey, listen, the connector always wins too. So even Jimmy, if it's not a title rep or someone like that, say, hey, I know you guys moved to town, 3 months ago. I've got a friend of mine actually that I helped buy their place that moved 6 months ago. I think y'all would hit it off. I'd love
Hmm.
just to go to lunch, get some feedback from y'all on kind of what it's like living here. I've been here my whole life and just kind of
Yeah.
see that. And I'd love to make a connection that way.
Yeah.
I've done it that way. We've done some of that. The other thing is like, what's the common connection? So I'll use Heidi as an example because she told me this. What she did a few times is that she actually had it where it would be like it was someone who had a child that was in dance with her daughter, for instance. I'm just using that as an
Yeah.
example. And what she would do is while they're sitting there waiting on them to come out, and she said, I don't know about y'all, but every so often on Fridays, I love to have a little margarita lunch. Would either of y'all be interested in that?
Yeah.
And she literally began to put where it wasn't just her, it was groups of people that had a common binding, something that would be
Yeah.
there. And so what she said and what she did during that time also is she ended up going out and she said, look, I'm not a country club person. My husband always wanted to be a part of a country club. She went and they joined a country club and she's like, and I just said, if I'm going there, I'm gonna I'm gonna get involved. And she said, I
Yeah.
don't expect to fit in. And she said, you would be amazed at me just going to the whatever they were having at the country club for ladies. She got involved with different things there. And she said, and I met this whole new group of people. And it was so easy for me to say, hey, I think, did we just become best friends? I would love to just go to lunch and just hear more and know more about you. So she was
Hmm.
expanding her database on top of deepening those relationships. So Jimmy, I think you're absolutely right. Look, this is the thing is we've all heard it. I mean, just the other side of you getting a little bit uncomfortable is probably where the success is. So
Yeah.
I would encourage you to press yourself a little bit, but there are ways that you can find ways to get some, maybe some co-pilots to ride with you as well.
I like it. Yeah, wingman, wing women. Jimmy
Yes.
Burgess right now. You can follow him on Instagram. It's at Jimmy Burgess. Is it Jimmy Burgess CEO underscore? Is that the right one? Hold on, let me pull it
Yes,
up here,
that's right.
Jimmy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Hmm.
we'll drop a link to your
Like
profile,
it is.
Jimmy. You also write for Imman Nuge. You're constantly sharing advice and strategies there. And we're gonna get into the campaign kickoff here because we have a lot of people who we usually do these for 30 minutes. We're going a little bit overtime right now. But Jimmy, this has been amazing. The gratitude text, I cannot wait for people to do this week and then share the wins, the mastermind group. The unsolicited CMA is such a good strategy that you saw how many people don't do it. I mean, the numbers were just pouring in. The vast majority of people still don't do that. And of course, I love the idea of lunch over leads. And I like the idea of getting involved in communities where you can facilitate that. It's such a smart way to go deeper and to build your connections. And the thing that you've heard us say on listing leads before is that if you want a bigger business, you need a bigger audience. And so many people right now, Jimmy, are so focused on online audience over
Right.
in-person audience. And I think this is what you brought to the table today. So we appreciate you, my friend. Happy holidays. I want to get one of those turkey videos. You know that. I want to see that.
Got you.
It better
I
not be
got you.
pre-recorded, Jimmy. Okay. I want to see
It's
that
not gonna be
bubble. I want to see that
real.
skin bubbling. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. I got you. Hey, listen, nobody's doing it better than y'all. Lee, appreciate everything too. Good to see you. And I will just tell you, the group that's here, I mean, you're knowing this, but let me just say this. If you're asking what's one thing you can do this year to improve your business, just do whatever Jimmy says, man. Where were we, Jimmy? Somebody came up to us and they were like, I just do what Jimmy says. I was like, that's a smart man right there. So just follow this. I mean, look, listing leads, in my opinion, is the best out there, especially on a weekly basis. So just appreciate y'all. Have a great, happy holidays to everybody, and catch up with you guys soon.
We'll see you soon, Jimmy. Be well.
See you soon.
Appreciate you.
All right.
So Lee, uh, that was awesome. And by the way, in the chat, give it up for Jimmy. We'll send him some love after today's session because I know he'll appreciate that. Um, Lee, we're going to get into campaign kickoff, and I just got to say, I am reminded every time I talk to Jimmy because he's become a dear friend of mine. I'm reminded about how simple this business really can be, which is, right now I think this industry has kind of become obsessed with complexity and it's obsessed with all these complicated systems needed to be successful. What Jimmy just broke down for you, I think was a fantastic example of just like there's some basic things that we can get back to in 26 that will help us become more productive and more profitable. And I am just a huge, huge fan of that. So on that note, Lee, again, we got people jumping on late. Why don't you set the stage again for campaign kickoff? We'll go through rapid fire style this week, let people get back to their days. But this was a fun session, my friend.
Yeah, we'll rock it out. And big props to Jimmy B. And I personally, I dropped it in the chat, but I love surrounding Jimmy Mackin with Southerners. I like talking about fried turkey and texting our cousin. Uh, but yeah, so campaign kickoff is where we run down the week's content. We give you strategies and tactics to execute it, and also kind of hold you accountable. You can sit here and do it right now with us, ship the content. That's the magic. Also, as Jimmy Burgess and Jimmy Mackin said, big props to you guys for being here on a holiday weekend and still doing the work.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, just at a high level, I want to just repeat a couple things that we always say in campaign kickoff call because I think results do come from repetition. So, we're going to cover this week's plan, and we're going to go over it in probably the next 5 to 7 minutes here, get you back to your days. But at a high level, everything we do at Listing Leads boils down to three things. Number one, engage your database. Number two, convert your database. And number three, grow your database. And so if you can get in the habit of engagement, conversion, and growth in that order, what happens is you start to build up a ton of momentum in your business that ultimately leads to more points, more listings. And I gave an example of this recently. I actually shared this on Instagram, Lee, where I had Lindsay Joe who reached out to me and asked me for sort of a plan. I gave her the listing leads playbook. I said, this is what you should do. And I gave her some accelerators like the magic buyer letter and the expired campaign. She went on 9 listing appointments in the month of October directly because of the things that I've coached her on. And people are like, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? The plan is listing leads. And I think what's important is there's not a one single campaign that just all of a sudden gets you 70% of your business. It's the collective execution of these strategies that ultimately create the opportunities that you otherwise would not have. So, like Jimmy B said, our goal here is to make it so insanely simple you don't have to think. And so, starting off with Monday, we always do Monday deal of the week. If you're not familiar with the concept, it's very simple. We create an email campaign, basically of the very best deal in the area that week, and we say, "Hey, if you want to get more details about it, send me over more details." Like simple CTA. There's no link, there's no design, there's no photos. It's just finding the very best deal and emailing that to your database. You're going to get some replies, which is great because that will lead to opportunities. But then you're going to get a lot of people who open up that email. We have a free tool that you can use, which is automate.listingleads.com/deal, where you can actually plug in your information and we'll find you the most viral listing on Zillow that week that you can use as your deal of the week email. So we just want to, again, blocking and tackling, doing the basics well, get the deal of the week email out there. As a bonus, we have a new style of deal of the week Instagram template here. This is something you can just simply post on Instagram. You can take a screenshot of the home on Zillow, the saves and views and how long it's been on Zillow. And then you can have a Instagram poll on that as well. And again, all we're trying to do is through our database and through our audience on social media, get people to raise their hand. So, deal of the week, as always, is every Monday. Tuesday is we thought it would be a good opportunity to lead this week to do something about like being optimistic. It is the season of gratitude. It is the season of love and caring. So we have a spin on this one, which is reason to be optimistic about the market. Now, before I share this with you, this is the email of the week. And the email of the week, we tell you like, hey, who should you send this to? And so in this one, we're basically saying we recommend you send this to your entire database. We recommend either you're due to your prospects, your SOI, or your entire database. This is an email that can go out to your entire database. Now, Lee, one of the things that we know to be true about this market is that if you don't control the narrative, you can't control the market. And right now, in the chat for me, let me know actually, in the chat, let me know how much of the narrative right now for the real estate market is negative versus positive. Is it negative? Like most of it's negative around affordability, or is it positive? Like, hey, the market's looking a little bit better. Like, let me know in the chat. What do you normally see when you go on social media, when you go on X, when you go on Facebook, when you go on Instagram? Like, look at this. Sandra saying more negative. Anna, negative. Trisha, negative. Folks, if we don't control the narrative, somebody else will. And the fact is, and Holly's spot on, some markets are still absolutely on fire. Some markets are just doing fine. And so this email here, I'll pull up so you can see this email. This email is really designed to talk about like, hey, there are reasons why we should be optimistic. Number one, buyers aren't waiting for spring. We're starting to see more activity. Affordability is improving. By the way, I was on a live stream, Lee, with David Childers from KCM. Did you know the average mortgage payment is down $300 since May?
Wow. I did not know that. That's
Right?
what
Like
speaks content. That's a big deal.
it's a big deal. And so you can see that well-priced homes are drawing serious buyers. Like, homes are still selling quickly. And so like this email is a very simple listing attraction email, but giving them kind of a counter point of view that's fact-based. There's reasons why they should be optimistic. More buyers, affordability is getting a little bit better. Still an issue. I'm not saying it's not an issue, still an issue, getting better. And yeah, homes are still selling quickly if they're well priced and well positioned. So, high level, what we want you to do on Monday and Tuesday is we want you to get the email of the week out for deal of the week, and we want you to get the email of the week out to your database. Then, Lee, listen, if you do the Wednesday text, you're going to get some bonus points from me here because I know it's the day before Thanksgiving. But we do have a text script that we wrote for you that's really designed to engage your prospects. And one of the things that we think about this is kind of the perfect time because what's the irony is these people are going to hear a lot from businesses on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So like Wednesday, Lee, is kind of like this day where it's going to be a little quiet. And so
Right.
we're like, what could we do when it's a little bit quieter to get people to engage? So we created this likability text. I'll pull it up again so you can see it, where anybody who opens up the email on Monday or on Tuesday, this is what you send. Hey, Lee, it's been a while. Last time we talked, you mentioned you were casually looking to buy and not ready to commit. How are you feeling about the market right now? And that line right there, hey, last time we talked, you mentioned, and you can insert whatever you want to insert at that point. This is based on the Vanessa Van Edwards study, which was effectively saying, what are ways we can become more likable? One of it is, hey, I was just thinking about you. The other one was, the last time we talked, you mentioned. And the third one was, hey, Lee, you are always so organized as it comes to getting us ready for these types of shows. Like some type of positive, reinforcing kind of characteristic that you wanna communicate. So this is a text that we would recommend sending out to anybody who's opened up or clicked on the email they sent the day before or on Monday. The past gratitude text, by the way, this is the Jimmy Burgess text. We took it from Jimmy. So this is like you could text it, but I don't know about you guys. I'm really motivated to send this as a video based on what Jimmy just said. So this is a great example of like, hey, you could use this as a video. There you go, and get it out the door. So we have like a script that you could use. Basically, hey Lee, hey Lee, it's Jimmy. I've been reflecting on this year. I just want to say thank you again for trusting me with your move, trusting me as your local realtor, trusting me as your advisor. It was one of the highlights of last year, of this year, of the past years. Wishing you and your loved ones a wonderful season ahead. Just a dead simple script. And of course, you can personalize this based on the individual, but we want to kind of get you out the door, sending out 10 to 15 of these. And then Lee, let's end with this, which is Black Friday. Now, I think, and we've seen this go viral before, there is a massive opportunity for you to do a Black Friday post, a roll up. This is like an example of a roll up where you get all of the local businesses in your area who are doing a Black Friday deal and you create a social media post behind it. This is so powerful, Lee. So we break the whole thing down here. But if I was an agent right now who's listening, I would have either my staff, my admin, my assistant. I say, I want you to call, I want you to go on Yelp. I want you to organize or Google reviews. I want you to organize the brands by the highest reviews in our area. By the way, ChatGPT can do this, to be clear. Like Perplexity can do this. Get a list of all the popular local businesses ranked by the highest reviews. And I would call them up and say, hey, Lee, this is Jimmy. I'm a local realtor in the area. I'm putting together a Black Friday post to highlight the best local deals. I wanted to call to check in with you guys to see if you're offering anything that I can share with my following on social media. And then there you go. I would just go down a list. Great way to make a connection, great way to build a relationship, great way to actually, provide some value. And then you can just roll that up into an Instagram reel or an Instagram post for Friday. So it's
And Jimmy, if
yep,
I gotta hop in on that, I would just add to it if there's a local small business or somebody you can support. I meant to give this example last time. I met some kids making salsa at a farmer's market
yep,
and did a similar type of thing for them. Hey, come over for food trucks. So
yep,
if you can find somebody that can really move the needle or a past client that has a small business,
yep.
just saying.
Yeah, what you could do, by the way, what you could do. All right, so let me give you some bonus tips here. So again, real quick, the listing leads plan, Monday deal of the week, Tuesday email of the week, Wednesday's the likability text, Thursday's gratitude, Friday's deal of the Fridays is the Black Friday. What you could also do is, let's say I got 4 or 5 businesses. Let's say like by tomorrow, like I made it my mission for a big social media promotion. I would shoot an Instagram reel and I'd be like, hey everybody, I'm putting together a local Black Friday deals where I'm finding the best local companies who are offering the biggest deals on Black Friday. If you want to see a deal from one of these companies below, just comment the name of the company, tag them on Instagram. I'll make sure I follow up with them to see what they're offering. Like you can actually create like a social media video to solicit, right, recommendations for people and which businesses to follow up with as a way to kind of prepare you for the thing that you're about to do. So I'm just a huge, huge fan of this. Engage your database, convert your database, grow your database. And creating community content is absolutely, still unequivocally, one of the best ways to do just that. And by the way, yeah, Mia's spot on. It doesn't have to be local. It could be, some of the best Black Friday deals. And by the way, you don't have to do it local. I just think I think it's a miss if you don't do, like, at least try to include some local businesses in your area. So Lee, we are back next Monday
Yes.
for Camp and Kickoff.
Who we got? What's going on next Monday?
Well, we're just going to keep this thing rolling. I think, and by the way, let us know in the chat if you like this format. We're trying to give you some skills, bring in a speaker, get you coached up, get you motivated, get you dialed in. Let us know in the chat right now if you like this format. We want to make sure that we're providing as much value and putting you in position to be successful. And we will be back next Monday at 2 p.m. with a brand new speaker, a brand new topic, and put you in the best position to be successful at listing leads. All we want to do is help you get more listings. And the best way to do that starts with better marketing. And the way to get better at marketing is to jump on calls like this so you can be more consistent with it. Lee, happy holidays, my friend. Great seeing you as always.
That's
And
happy
I hope you have a
Thanksgiving.
wonderful Thanksgiving. And we will see everybody next Monday at 2 p.m.